Hey, everybody. Happy Friday. Welcome to the Local Marketing Institute webinar. We are joined by a special guest host, Colan Nielsen. Colan is with Sterling Sky. Greg Gifford's not going to be here today. He's off traveling. So, okay, Colan, how you doing, buddy?
Hey, I'm doing good. Thanks for having me, Ben. This is pretty cool.
Excellent, man. Yeah, thanks. And thanks for joining us. Just going to go through a couple more things here real quick for some housekeeping, and we shall get started. So if you want to contact Colan, you can contact him on Twitter at Colan Nielsen. You can also, of course, go to sterlingsky.ca. And me, for Ben Fisher, if you want to reach me, you can reach me at The Social Dude or at steadydemand.com. Just as a reminder, join us on Facebook, our Local Marketing Institute Connect. We have quite a few members, and we're all here to basically help each other learn and stay on top of the local SEO industry. And then also, please do make sure that you follow and download our podcast. You can get us on Apple, Google, Spotify, iHeartRadio, all over the place. And with that, we are going to get started. So every once in a while, you all have noticed that Greg sometimes can't make the show, or I can't make the show, and then we end up canceling. So instead, what we have done now is we have Colan, who has graciously accepted the co-host status. And so basically, if I can't make it or Greg can't make it, Colan's going to join in and help everybody out. And I mean, if you don't know Colan, I mean, I'm doing Colan for, gosh, what are we going on? Maybe 6-7 years now, something like that. He's very well respected in the industry, super smart dude, knows a ton about local SEO. He's, of course, part of the dream team over there at Sterling Sky. And we are both, of course, Google product experts, Google business profile product experts. And so, I couldn't be more than happy to have him join us. Colan, for those that don't know Colan, tell us a little bit about yourself, buddy.
Yeah, thanks, Ben. That's right. My name's Colan, Vice President of Local Search at Sterling Sky. And I've been doing local SEO and Google Places and all that kind of work since 2010. So I've got about 12 and a half years under my belt, just doing local all day. And I also love doing the product expert stuff, just kind of volunteering time just to help business owners and other marketers as well navigate just the often confusing and kind of kooky world of Google My Business.
God, Google Local. Google Local, Google Places, Google Plus Places.
Google Plus Local.
Right, exactly. At least we got a new name for at least a couple more years, and I'm sure they'll change it again.
Yes, that's guaranteed. It's the only thing that's guaranteed.
Right. So today we're going to start off with some just things that you should know. We're going to go into some news, then we're going to get into some questions and answers, and just another little housekeeping thing. If you do have a question, please don't ask it in chat. Please ask it in the question and answers section, and we will get to you live today. So with that, Colan, Sterling Sky has some really cool stuff that you guys keep updated on the blog pretty often, like the updates, for instance, right? But I think one of the things that people don't know that you have a lot is category updates. So why don't you tell us a little bit about, A, how did that even start, really? And then B, kind of the importance of it and, what's going on with it.
Yeah, so it's a free resource on the Sterling Sky website. So like on our main menu, there's a free resources tab. If you go to the drop down there, you'll find it's called Google My Business or Google Business Profile Category Changes. And we track these on a monthly basis. Joyce started doing this, I want to say it's been at least 2 years, probably more, that we've been looking through updates from Google, so you can get like the category changes through APIs and stuff like that. And we'll sort of update it with whatever new categories have been added to Google Business Profiles that month. Which categories have been updated, because sometimes Google will just like do a slight modification on a category. And then they also remove quite a bit of categories every month. Like for instance, in December, they added like 15 different categories related to restaurants They removed 3 categories related to archery, events, and convenience stores. And in February, small change, but just kind of interesting, just trying to understand why Google does things. They, for instance, changed or updated the real estate agents plural category to real estate agents with no plural, which I guess makes sense if the category is designed to represent an individual and not multiple individuals. So yeah, that's a really cool resource. I believe, if you subscribe to our newsletter, there's always a link to kind of get updates every time Joy updates that. So it's a cool little resource.
Yeah, we were talking about earlier that they finally ended up adding a dumpster rentals category.
Yeah, that was a while back. That was a big one.
Yeah,
for anybody who's working in that industry.
And I'm sure you get asked this all the time. Like a lot of people ask, for instance, how do I get a category added to Google, right? Business profiles, because getting that done is kind of like an act of Congress, really. You have to be able to show with a lot of data, and you have to have a lot of people behind you that would need this and want this.
Yeah.
Google basically, they act on data. So if they can see a trend, then you have a pretty good chance of them adding it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the best reason, I think the only way to make requests is at the Google Business Profile Forum.
Correct.
So you go there, create a post suggesting the category, and you just have to be super detailed about it and explain why, and make a really good case as to why that category deserves a category. And then one of the product experts can kind of escalate that, and we're sort of like throwing it off into the ether, and we don't necessarily hear back. Google will say, thank you very much. But more often than not, a year will go by, and then all of a sudden you'll see that category in existence. So
it's the Google Business Profile dartboard, right? It's like, we'll throw it out and we'll see if it sticks.
Yeah, it's like the redressal form, right? You submit it and cross your fingers and hope for the best.
Yeah, true. Cool. So let's see. The next thing that we have is like something that's just a little bit of piece of news, and that is that the Google Business Profile in search experience, where you can basically make edits and see your stats and do posts and everything right in Google search. That keeps on kind of moving closer and closer to what we consider full parity, which is basically between what used to be the Google Business Manager web, basically. And so now, of course, they're moving everybody towards search if they can go there. And there's a couple different things that happened. Well, first one is Claire Carlisle noticed, and thanks, Claire, that now posts in your search experience will show the number of views and the number of clicks that you're getting. Previously, you had to go into GMB Web and you had to go to posts. Then you had to go look at each one of the posts. Now you can just click on the post and it's there. When I took a look at it, I noticed that the data was basically the same as it is in GMB Web or GBP Manager. Gosh. And so the data it's still off, basically, I guess is the point. But at least it's in one place now. And the other thing that we saw was, and here is a tweet that I put out there last week, and that is that when you are starting up a new location verification, what will end up happening is it'll end up dumping you out to the Google, basically the in-search experience. So you'll go through the whole process and then bang, you're in search and it says nobody can see this. The other cool thing is that this actually works for suspended business profiles too. It's not as easy to get to, but actually it's not easy at all to get to. But I have seen it where if you go on search and you look at for the business name, they are suspended. You will actually see the profile, but you'll see it says very plainly, nobody else can see this but you. So just another kind of cool thing about, what Google's doing to get people into basically the in-search experience. What are your thoughts on that, Colan?
I mean, my only thoughts about the in-search experience is that you better get used to using it sooner than later, because it's probably at some point, other than maybe working out of an agency dashboard, or something like that is going to be one of the only ways to edit listings and manage them. So I don't know. Don't resist too long. Just get used to it.
Right. Yeah. No, I mean, I completely agree. For agencies, we're not going to use it very much. That's why, the Google Business Profile Manager is going to be around for probably a very, very long time. But for, people who have like 1 to 3 listings, yeah, it's pretty useful for them. So,
yeah, I think another cool thing related to that is there seems to be more sporadic information being added. So it's probably more worthwhile to check the little card in your NMX experience. Like for instance, right now it'll say like, add photos and sort of prompts you to do things. But occasionally, and it's been doing this for a while, I think it still does this. Like if somebody suggests an edit to your listing publicly, sometimes you'll see it in there saying someone has suggested an edit. And that's the only way you would know that, because inside the dashboard, it just changes the information. It doesn't necessarily say that somebody edited this. So occasionally you get these nice little gold nuggets from that search experience dashboard. So just check it, frequently to see if there's new stuff in there. You can like useful information.
Yeah, I totally agree. Absolutely. And not to mention, I mean, I can think, and we're going to be talking about this in a little bit, like about the WooCommerce card that shows up like on the home of the Google Business Profile Manager. Those types of things also are going to be showing in the in-search experience as well, because like you were saying, they have the prompts for posts and photos, etc. So it's a good thing to keep an eye on, basically, I guess is really what it comes down to. If you want a shortcut on how you can get to your profile in search, and if you're managing multiple profiles, then you can just go to your business.google.com. And when you're in your list view, over on the right-hand side, it says See Profile. Click on See Profile. 9.5 times out of 10, it will bring you to your profile and your in-search experience. Sometimes it gets quite confused if you have multiple Google account sessions open. So good luck with that. But yep, exactly. Yes, you got it, Michael. You can type in my business, and it usually, if you only have one profile, will show you your profile, or it'll show you up to 3 profiles.
Yep. And do you know, right, Ben, if this, I'm not sure if this is rolled out 100%, I assume it is, but if you go to the info tab, there's now that blue bar at the top that says try it now.
Yeah.
Click on that. That'll take you directly to it as well.
Yeah. I mean, there's
100% of the time.
Yeah. You're seeing that actually kind of all over the dashboard now. I think they call that a butter bar, something like that. But yeah, you're seeing it all over. It's like it's on the home tab as well. There's a big box that says try out new in-search in-search experience as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, but it's pretty interesting is what it is, I guess you could say. Colan, somebody, actually I brought up the thing about malware blocking reinstatements, and you had some really, really good insight and some stuff to talk about with that.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting because I'd never heard of that. That malware on your website could cause a suspension. It probably can also prevent a reinstatement if it's something that Google's assessing. So kudos to you for sharing that. Was aware of that, but it just got me thinking too that I think there's probably a lot of people that generally think that suspensions are only really happening if a business creates a listing at a fake address, like a UPS store, or it's like keyword stuffing 50 different words in the name. When in fact, at least in my experience, almost the majority of experience that I'm seeing lately are businesses that are fine, like it's a real business, real location, etc. But there's some other issue happening, almost like at the account level, right? So account level stuff. So malware, kind of related to that, right? Because it's not related to your business itself. It's some other issue. But like, the most common one is if you have a manager associated with the listing and that person is doing some funky stuff with their accounts unrelated to your business. Maybe they're suggesting edits to other businesses, but doing it in a way that like Google's not really cool with. You got to watch out for that. And actually another one I've seen, Ben, that prevented a reinstatement was somebody updated their website from HTTP to HTTPS.
Yeah.
they hadn't just like replaced the link inside of Google My Business. So it was still the HTTP version, and Google wanted that fixed before they would help. And I think it's because they just look at it as like a redirect, and they specifically say they don't want redirects used inside the dashboard. But knowing that they also have a problem with malware, maybe it's also just a security thing, right? They just want secure links.
Yeah, the thing with the redirect is it's kind of interesting. I used to think that if it was a HTTPS redirected, that would block a reinstatement, but found clarity on that. And the way that the URL works is as long as the experience that a user has is the same on a redirect, even if it's a redirect to another domain name, by the way, is usually acceptable. However, I have absolutely seen issues like with, for instance, issues with robots.txt, and so if it's incorrectly formatted, something in there, like let's say it's a disallow all, right? Then that's actually a quality issue right there.
Yep.
And man, the strange, as you were talking, it made me think about a case I had where we had a company that had kind of like a 1-800 got junk type of phone number, right?
Yep.
It was not them, of course, but kind of like that. And so anyway, so they had set up a bunch of listings and they all got suspended. So initially I'm thinking, okay, this is an account level suspension. Let's go ahead and let's isolate that issue first. And I was like, wow, okay, not an account level suspension. It actually ended up, this is the first time I've ever seen this. It ended up being that number, the vanity number, was actually banned by Google. How we figured that out was we ended up getting rid of that phone number, setting up a brand new listing with just a local phone number. Everything else was exactly the same.
Yep.
And it got approved. It was fine. He replaced the number with his vanity phone number and bam, suspended immediately. Did it a couple times. It happened almost like clockwork. So actually like clockwork. So previously, I didn't think that phone numbers could actually block or cause a suspension. And now, yeah, it can definitely happen. I think it depends on the level of abuse.
Yeah. And I think that brings up a good point that if you're doing any sort of like reinstatement work, let's say, as like a service, like you guys do, Ben, you really want to have like a checklist for this stuff that you're growing and building over time. Right? Like if you're dealing with suspensions and all you really understand is that like you got to look at the location and you got to look at whether or not they're keyword stuffing, you're potentially missing out on 90% of what could be actually causing that list. Ben, even you were telling me like you've come across cases where there's an account level suspension and it turns out that it was related to a manager or an owner on the listing, but it was related to credit card declines or PPC issues or like incorrectly using the Google My Business API. So there's all these other things that an individual who's associated with a business can cause problems with the business, even though it has nothing to do with the actual business itself.
Exactly. And Google just slaps the whole suspicious activity or quality guidelines, label on it. But man, I mean, as you know, the ins and outs of suspension can be quite confusing.
Yeah.
I think the ones that I hate the most deals with an account level suspension tied to a declined credit card in a pay-per-click account in one of the listings on which you are an owner, not primary owner.
Yeah. And how would you ever figure that out, right? I mean, it's kind of kooky.
It takes a lot of work, I can tell you that. Because you have to isolate so many different variables to get down to that level. It's insane. But yeah, so moral of the story, at the end of the day, make sure your website's right, make sure your phone number's right, make sure you're not doing abuse, make sure that you always keep an eye on who is a manager or an owner of your listings. All of these little things can cause problems and can cause you to come to the forum saying something to the effect of, I've been in business for 20 years. I have 500 5-star reviews. I pay Google $500,000 per month, and yet you suspended my business. So we don't want to hear that. You don't want to hear that. And so keep it clean.
Yeah.
All right. And speaking of reinstate times, I mean, I guess we'll just cover this really quickly. So I basically, one of the things that I like to do is, because we do deal with so many reinstatements, is that we get a good idea on, we're talking hundreds a month. So we get to have a pretty good idea on what the turnaround time is with Google, and we can spot problems very quickly. Like right now, we're in this 5-day purgatory. It's been going on for quite a while, unfortunately. Normally, you'll hear back on a reinstatement request within 24 hours. It's 5 days now. It sucks. It's horrible.
And Ben, is that just like in even in very clear cut, straightforward brick and mortar business? Like, it doesn't matter if it's complicated or straightforward.
Yeah, unfortunately, it does not matter. We're not seeing like reinstates happening in 24 hours, at least not right now. Based on my experience, it's probably going to last for another couple of months while they get through their backlog, because that's usually what causes this. So, so it's really bad. But yeah, just so reinstatements are right now 5 days. In that tweet, you can find a link to basically where I keep track of all this. So if you're ever curious whether they got your response, why you're not being reinstated quickly, go check out the time.
Well, I just came across something else recently, Ben, which interestingly also, I don't know if this is connected or not, but there's that new rule now, which Google shared, where if you add a new manager to the listing, there's a grace period.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So I actually ran into this recently, and it's a very kind of relevant consideration. So if you're dealing with an account level suspension and you've identified that you need to switch the owner to somebody else, you got to give yourself at least 5 days, because you add the new account as a manager, got to wait 5 to 7 days before flipping that person to the primary owner and then removing the bad user. So keep that in mind if you're helping with suspensions. There's that built-in now grace period that you got to deal with.
Yeah, which is great, right? Because it's stopping a lot of hijacks. So that's the nice part about it, where people are getting in and removing other users as soon as they got in and got verified. But yeah, it's a pain, man. I mean, and I feel bad for people who get suspended, because if they do have to do that, and then they have to wait another 7 days on top of it before they can submit, and then they got to wait another 5 days. That's a lot of revenue going down the toilet, basically.
Yeah. And I just saw a question come in from Michael, and you still will show up as a manager instantly. So like if somebody adds you, you're still a manager on the listing, but there's a grace period before you can actually do anything. Like the primary owner would have to wait 7 days before they can make you now say the primary owner, or like make any adjustments like that. But you will be associated with the listing still pretty much right away.
Yeah, exactly. You just can't edit anything. And like you said, but the big issue is like you were saying, is you can't do the primary swap. So that means that primary owner could still be the bad email address, basically, is what it comes down to. Yeah. Cool. So let's see. We have a little piece of news about the double verification, and we wanted to talk about a little bit about video verification at the same time. So there's an article on SEO Roundtable about this. They updated their guidelines. What you got on this, Colin?
Yeah, as far as the double verification goes, it just seems to be an added layer of verification for businesses. So you could enter your verification code, but that may not be all you have to do. They might request you to do something else. I think what we don't know officially is if it's like related to categories. So if it's like a duress category thing, if it's related to the actual standing of the owner, maybe they've got some weird stuff that Google can see on the background. I don't think Google's been explicit about stuff like that.
No, they haven't. Google's always been horrible, at verification. And granted, I think we can really understand why, and that is that it's really difficult to apply policy across the entire world, right? So and people think, like in the United States, we like to think it's kind of all about us. But it really isn't. Whenever they do something, they implement it across the entire world. It has to apply everywhere. And which is why sometimes they experiment in India first, actually. But I like the idea of double verification, actually, because if you think about it, it's like, okay, so you get an email or you get a text with a code, fantastic. We know spammers abuse the heck out of that. And so if they force a video verification after that, fantastic. If you're a real business, you got nothing to worry about. So I think it's kind of pretty darn cool. What do you think about the video verification, though? The new video verification?
I think the more options, verification options, the better, especially just with changing business models, ways of doing things. And if I remember correctly, Ben, the new part of this is the actual recorded video verification part. So the live video verification, which is, in my experience, a pain in the butt to organize and sort of coordinates. I don't know what your experience has been with that. A little bit different. That's been around for a while. This is specific to making a recorded video. And in the Help Center doc, which was recently updated, Google kind of goes through the very specific things that they want to see in this video. It's got to be continuous with no edits and show this and show that. So I don't know of anyone who's actually gone through that yet. I don't know if you have.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And we have in maybe two separate instances. In the first instance, the video actually failed upload. So that was neat. And in the second instance, it was actually successful. What's kind of sucky about it, though, is that a lot of merchants, they actually want to rely on an agency to help with verification. Mm-hmm. And with video verification, there's nothing you can do as an agency.
Right, except fly out to them. Walk them through it.
You could do that. Yes. Yeah. I guess if you're local, you could do it as well. So that's the only part that I don't like about it. So, reliability, and we can't help you kind of thing. Let's see. The next thing we got from a news standpoint, we got a lot of news this week. Let's see. Oh yeah, that was that. So is basically what I think could be interesting. I was plinking through some of our clients and I saw something about Woo, basically get connected to Woo. And I've been doing a little bit of research on this, not a ton yet. But basically what it is WooCommerce has a e-commerce plugin where you can just go ahead in WordPress and put up all your products. I think you can do services too, but I'm not sure about that. I'll find out. And then what it does is it's supposed to, and I haven't seen this in action yet, but it's supposedly supposed to connect to your Google business profile and show your products that you have for sale. Assumption is that it leads back to your WordPress site for an actual purchase. This would make sense, I think, primarily because of the product posts and all of the rejections that we've been seeing over the past couple months. And also the fact that product posts are high up on your Google business profile. But it also, I think it brings up a lot of questions for me. And the first one is really the biggest, I guess, would be, is what is Google really trying to do here? What are they trying to solve as a problem? Especially considering they don't allow for online stores. And so it might be a COVID thing, it might be an e-commerce thing, possible. And, how much is it going to get abused? So I got lots of questions. I got no answers, though, unfortunately. What are your thoughts, man?
My only question is, will you still be able to use GIFs if you're uploading it? Because those look pretty darn cool when you upload them direct to inside your dashboard.
Yeah. How do you, what's the, let's let everybody know, what's the mechanism to make that work? You remember?
No, what do you mean?
To make a GIF work on Google Business Profile posts?
Well, you just upload it as your image for your product post.
I thought you had to download it and then rename it to a JPEG and then upload it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think so. Yeah. I don't actively do them myself. We do a ton. at Sterling Sky. But I think you're right. I think that is the workaround that you need to do. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I really hope those stay too. Those are kind of cool.
Yeah, they're beautiful, beautiful. It's like make your knowledge panel look incredible.
Yeah, exactly. Right. I've seen some people go overboard though. And Jamil, we will be going to the Q&As. Actually, we usually save those for our lightning round, which was probably coming in about 10, 15 minutes here. Okay. So next thing, Colin, you have this really cool thing that you put out quite a few years ago, I think, right?
Yep.
And that's the black belt quiz. So tell us about that, man. What's going on with the black belt quiz?
Yeah, it's just it's a quiz. I think this was we just published. I want to say the fourth one, maybe it was the third. We do it once a year, and we kind of just go through all the major updates that kind of happened that year. We go through all the blogs that we published at Sterling Sky, where we tested things and sort of discovered if this was a ranking factor or this wasn't a ranking factor. We turn it into a quiz, give you a score, 14 questions, I think this year's quiz was. And we try to make it super hard. So you basically have to get 13 or 14 out of 14 to get the black belt. I sort of use the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu color scheme for belts.
Nice.
So yeah, check it out. Again, if you go to the Sterling Sky site under free resources, you'll see it there, 2022 black belt quiz. Andy did pretty well. And yes, they are hard, Andy. Now, and I'll even admit, as I'm building these quizzes every year, if somebody gave me the quiz straight up without me knowing the answers ahead of time, there's a very good chance that I would not have a perfect score. Like it's that hard. It's designed to be very hard. So yeah, check it out. It's pretty fun. And tweet the results. We're really interested in knowing how people done. I think there's maybe been about 200 completed so far,
nice.
Just since publishing this one last week. So it's really nice to see all the data come in as well.
Yeah, I remember when you first did the first one over at Local U, actually. And I ended up getting, I think, like 13 out of 14 or whatever it was in the first one. I was like, wait a minute. I was like, that's a trick question.
Yep.
This year, you do have one in there that is a trick question. I'm not going to say what it is. I'll just say it could be 5 or 10.
Yeah,
that's a trick question. But yeah, no. Andy got 14. Down 14, didn't he?
I think he did.
Yeah,
I think he admitted to some maybe a potential guess in there, but that's okay, Andy. I think he admitted publicly. I just remembered this. And I thought this was worthwhile mentioning. So just speaking of the history of the quiz, the original inspiration for this was from Phil Rozek.
Really?
So I just thought I'd throw that out there. So if we go back to, I want to say 2011, maybe 2012. So I'd only been in the industry for 2 years, and somehow I was in touch with Phil, and he asked me if I wanted to create a quiz for his local visibility system blog. It's like 10 years ago. And it was so fun and just received so much positive feedback that like many years later was the inspiration to start our own quiz. I think it may have even been the first and one of only guest posts that Phil Rozek's ever had at his blog. So also very proud about that. But shout out to Phil for sure. He was the original inspiration for the quiz.
Right on, dude. Right on. All right. So I think what we're going to do is we got about half an hour to go, but we've got about 15 questions here. So why don't we just get started into them? All right. So let's see. Okay. So, oh my goodness. Yeah. These are good questions. All right. You ready, Colin?
I am. I'm reading Andy's comment there, and I'm having trouble not laughing. So I think I'm all right.
All right. So let's see. Yeah, that's a good Karate Kid reference, actually.
That is.
But okay. So, all right. John Peno is, I hope you didn't butcher your last name there, John. He has a question for you, man. All right. So, hey guys, I have an ongoing issue with a spa client where all the posts are immediately flagged as soon as they are posted. They are not adding links, contact info, hashtags, etc. into the post comment. I think they were originally flagged. Because one of the photos contained bare shoulders. Okay. Google support has not been able to fix the issue, even though the posts have all eventually published by support. Okay. What do you think I should look into causing the issue? The website does not have any malware or lewd content either. That's actually a really, really good one. What do you got on that there, Colin?
Yeah, I don't know. This might be a better one for you. So Joy published one just a week ago. There's a blog called "Why Are My Google Business Profile Posts Getting Rejected?"
Yeah,
that's probably worth checking out. And she goes into, I think, a few different reasons. One was Google has blocked the user from using Google Posts. The post doesn't follow the guidelines. The post includes auto-rejectable elements. So like certain words that you can use, phone numbers, that type of stuff. Technical issues are always a possibility. So those kind of go into detail in that particular post. What are you seeing, Ben?
So with this one, I'm pretty darn familiar with this issue. Actually, I've seen it quite a few times. So especially because you have bare shoulders, you've mentioned that. That means more than likely you're using like before and after photos, possibly. That's an assumption, John. Before and after photos are actually really, they are frowned upon by Google a lot. So, and also if you're using stock that's showing bare shoulders, again, things like that. That's another thing. Google doesn't like stock, even though I use stock all the time for our clients. We do. But they just don't like it. So what my thought is that sometime in the past, more than likely because you've been getting all these rejected posts, Google has just gone ahead and basically flagged the entire profile for the content policy. When this happens, you can reach out to support. They will reinstate the posts. But because it's under this content policy kind of suspension, I guess you could say, quote unquote, then they're not going to lift it. So what I would actually do in this case is I would take your support case, come to the, yeah, you got it right, Janet, right, John. It's like a shadow ban. I would come to the Google My Business, the Google Business Profile community, come with your support case ID, and then go ahead and ask a specialist, a product expert, to raise it to basically and escalate it. They could take a look at it, and sometimes, there's no guarantee here, but sometimes if they see a reduced pattern of abuse, they will lift the shadow ban, basically. So that's how I would handle it. All right. You're welcome, man. And yep, definitely. Cloud Vision API is awesome for helping this, for helping you debug the issue. Because I'm guaranteed you put the shoulders in there, it's going to come out racy and adult. Absolutely. Let's see. I've seen mold in the upper corner of a house actually come back as racy and adult, but it happens. All right. Myrna has a question. I have a new client who has a free Google site. She doesn't own the URL. She is using the Google site address. Must be the free website. Ranking pretty well in local search. She's purchasing a POS system that includes a template for a WordPress site. I'd like to migrate her to WordPress, but I want her to risk her losing her ranking. Okay. My understanding is that Google doesn't let you do a redirect from a Google site to a new site. That's not correct. So it seems like she'd suffer if we create a new site for her. Do you think she should take the risk? What do you think, Colin?
Yeah, I actually don't think it's too big of a risk, to be honest. I think if you're going from Google's basic website and building something out that's like a good small business WordPress site that you have full control over, 90% chance you're going to end up in a better situation after than you are now. It's going to add value.
Yeah.
Assuming the website, and especially the page on the website that you're linking the listing to, which I assume is the home page, unless it's multi-location, as long as that page is optimized properly for the things you want to rank for and has good internal links going to other pages, it should work out well.
Yeah, and the only thing I got to add to that, man, is that do things for the consumer experience. Don't do it for Google. Who cares? what Google thinks. And at the end of the day, a full website, like Colin's saying, is like you have full control. You can control what landing page you're using, and you can control the content, all the elements. With a Google site, you can't do any of that. So,
yeah, I think you could argue there's a bigger risk not doing it.
Right. I agree. All right. All right. So let's see. Okay. Stephen Asman. Hey, Stephen, you has a question. Do you think GBP rank better if they check off yes to identifies as X owned? This is actually a really, really good question.
That is a good question.
What do you think?
First of all, I didn't know there's an attribute called identifies as X owned. Just kidding.
Come on, man. I'm an X. No.
So the answer is yes. The answer is yes. And depending on what you mean by better. So it depends on the attribute. And we tested this. So for instance, if you select the identifies as women owned attribute, that will 100% increase your ranking specific to people searching for women owned blank, woman paralegal near me, stuff like that. 100% will help rankings with that.
Yep. And the only thing I'll add to that is don't identify as women owned if you're not actually women owned. So basically that would be my guidance.
Yeah. The other thing too is I think Google is intentionally putting the word identifies in front of these, which I mean, I do. It makes it so that Google, from my experience, will not actively try and figure out if you're telling the truth or not about that. They sort of leave it open to interpretation and the individual person that selects the attribute. But
I guess the only risk that you really run is if you have somebody who's looking, say, for a women-owned business or a Black-owned business, and it's actually not women-owned or Black-owned or veteran-owned. That's a really bad one, actually, by the way. That's get really super pissed if you say you're veteran-owned and you're not.
Yep.
And they can leave you a bad review. Plain and simple. Or in worst case scenario, they could review bomb you. And then that can be messy to clean up.
That's a good point, Ben. There's no specific Google penalty or issue if you select these and you're not actually the thing that you're selecting. But I think there's some real world consequences, like the perception if customers realize that you're not a veteran and you're telling people you identify as one, it probably won't go so well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And Andy, actually, you know what? If you take a look at Google's Google Trends, which Google uses, by the way, to make a lot of decisions, that's actually kind of also plays into the rankability for women-owned business near me, etc. All right, next question. This is by our visitor called Anonymous Attendee. So Anonymous Attendee, speaking of agency accounts, is there a way to convert a regular account with 2,000 Google business profiles to an agency account? I've got questions. My first question is going to be is how in the world did you get 2,000 GBPs into a Gmail account? 99 is the limit. Well, technically 100. Unless you have a Google Workspace account. Now, if you have a Google Workspace account, which is not an agency account, which you can have, then you could, in theory, have 2,000. It would work, actually. So the answer is I guess basically it would go something like this, is you would set up a new Workspace email address. You would sign up for the agency account. Then what you would have to do is you would basically have to migrate those accounts over to your agency account. And the easiest way to do that would be is to set up a location group within the Workspace email, move everything into that location group, and then it grant primary ownership access to the agency in that location group. I think that's how that would work. What are your thoughts, bud?
Yeah, I think you're right. because Google launched the migration tool for the agency dashboard. I mean, that goes back to 2018. It was clunky when it first came out, and I remember that experience was awful. But I think they've evolved it to the point now where most situations can be relatively seamless.
I thought they got rid of the migration tool.
It's been a few years. I thought it was still around.
Yeah. Huh. I don't know. I haven't looked at it in ages. But if the migration tool is there, yeah, it was clunky when it first came out, but it is fantastic when it works. I do recall using it one time.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Trisha has a question. Hi, Trisha. I've had problems with Google adding crazy services to a business Google business profile. For example, carpet cleaner, they're adding furniture mover. Well, you have to move furniture for carpet when you clean carpet, right? I'm kidding. I've had trouble removing it. I remove and save and then go back an hour later, and it's like I never removed it. I've removed it 2 to 3 times before it actually sticks. Have you seen this? Anything I could do to fix it? What you got, Colin?
Well, my understanding was that once you remove them, they should go away and not show back up. So if they are, I think that would be hit up support and then maybe hit up the forum, Trisha, and maybe Ben or like one of the PSPs can escalate that one, because they're supposed to go away and stay away once you remove them.
Yep. The only thing I would say is that I would triple check your website and make sure that their services are not on there at all. If they do mention furniture, moving furniture, because like I say, it kind of sounds like it's actually kind of related, right? Because you have to move furniture to clean a carpet. So if they have that on their website, that could be causing it. Okay. But
that's true.
And yes. Okay. So there you go. So see if that works. If it doesn't, come to the forum. All right. SCB Tours and Travel asks, okay, never mind. We're not going to answer that question. Okay. 1 second. Just need to read this real quick. Okay. Similar to the vanity telephone number you were talking about, I had a telephone number that always went to a voicemail, but I recently had it changed where the call is now answered. And I feel like more calls are not coming in. Do you think Google looks at that?
Yeah, I don't really, I'm not sure, Ben. It's probably more in your wheelhouse based on that experience you had.
So more coming into a voicemail. Recently, now it's answered. And I feel like more calls are not coming in. Oh, more calls are coming in. Okay, never mind. Okay, so more calls are coming in once you're answering. So there is something which is in the background of Google's products, which is called merchant response rate. Now, merchant response rate applies mainly to Google messages and business messages. Not really the phone. And here's why I would say that I don't think this correlates, Stephen. And that is that Google can see when somebody has hit your phone number, but they cannot see unless you're using call tracking. Okay, that's it depends. They can't see if you've actually picked up. So there's no way. Okay, you're using Twilio. Yeah. Okay. So but that's your call tracking. It's not the Google call tracking, right? Which is an option you have to turn on. So in that case, there's no way for them to know and differentiate. Yeah, even Google Voice wouldn't matter. This is a call tracking history feature that's specifically in Google Business Profile that you have to actually turn on. But Google can't see if you missed the calls, if it's going to a voicemail, or if you're answering it. So my gut tells me that, my gut tells me no, that there would not be a correlation here. What do you think? Do you have anything else on that, Colin?
No, I'd have to think about that one more. It's a new one for me.
Okay. All right. Well, cool. Let's see. This is something you I think we both know about, Colin. What are your thoughts on the transparency company?
Innovative, extremely innovative piece of software. Um, I don't know if Jeffrey, if you've seen some of the reports, but they're pretty cool, pretty detailed. The question is, how do you then sort of use that report to take action on, if you're assessing a competitor's reviews and you suspect they're faking the reviews? That's probably the more important part, is how do you extract the information from these beautiful reports and actually get it to Google in a way that they'll take action on. But yeah, I think it's great what they're doing. Innovative. Curtis is awesome. Their customer support seems to be amazing. And they do these really cool, what's it called on Fridays, target practice, which is neat, where they invite people to get together and you can bring these reports to this thing and they'll help you like report them and figure out what ones you can report. So yeah, I think they're doing good stuff. And I don't know of anyone else that's really doing specifically what they're doing, at least that I'm aware of.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm on the fence. I mean, I like Curtis. I think he is a great person, right? And I think that what they are attempting to do is extremely honorable and fits a certain need. And I think the problem is, though, is that a lot of people might not be willing to pay for this style of report, really, because my problem with it, I guess, is why I'm not using it, is that based on the data that I've seen in the reports, your chances of using that to get a review removed are going to be zero, mainly because Google doesn't use third-party data. Just in knowing that. So I mean, they say they've had success, so kudos. I think that some of the aspects of the reports are really cool, like, for instance, being able to draw a lot of lines of conclusion and assessing patterns, which actually is the hardest part when you're trying to get rid of reviews, especially if you're being review bombed, is looking at those patterns. So I still think that they have some improvement that they can do on those reports, but that's I think the coolest part, really.
Yeah, the pattern identification.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I don't know, I told Curtis this myself, and that is that, I ran it on a profile where I knew 100% of the reviews were actually good reviews and no fakeness at all. The first report came back with, I think, 70% detected as possibly invalid. Ran it a second time and came back as 30% possibly invalid. But again, I knew that they were all real. So that kind of makes me go, but then again, it's like, I mean, no software is perfect, right? So if it can give you that answer of, hey, 70% is not right, and that's actually true, then okay, then you should definitely start looking into all those reviews, right?
Yep. I say the use case that I like it for is if you have a client that's in a market where, let's just say, the average number of reviews across that market is, between 50 and 150. And then you've got this one business or maybe two that have like 6,000 reviews or 1,000 reviews, 500. Right. That would be a use case where I'd go, yeah, okay, maybe worth checking it out and just seeing what the tool spits out as a starting point to try and understand if they're behaving, badly.
Exactly. And I think it's like with any software, right? It's like, they are the only game in town. I would try it. I mean, heck, it doesn't, you're going to spend a little bit of money, but I would try it out. Try it on yourself, try it on your profile first, try it on a competitor's profile and see what comes up. I mean, because like you're saying, you might be able to dig something out of it. It doesn't hurt to try.
Yeah.
So that's that. Yeah, I would definitely try it out a couple times, see if it helps. All right. All right. So we have just a couple more minutes left. So let's see if we can burn through some more questions real quick. If a business gets their GBP suspended and they are also advertising with local service ads, does it affect it? Oh, yeah, this is a good question. So the answer, Jamil, is going to be very simply, it does affect your local service ads, but only in desyncing your reviews. So any reviews which are on your Google business profile will be removed from your local service ads profile over a 72-hour period, actually, after a suspension. So given what we were talking about earlier, yes, your reviews are going to disappear from your local service ads, which will impact your ranking. Okay. But it will not stop your ads. Your ads will continue to run, but your ranking may decrease. So getting reinstated is a good idea because, again, once you get it reinstated, within 72 hours, your reviews are going to come back, and therefore your ranking will increase again. You have any thoughts on that one, Colin?
I got nothing to
add. Okay. Let's see. Exactly right. Rip Google my business yet. So, all right. So, concerned about double verification. Jamil has another question, and I'm concerned about double verification. It seems that that seem to say that the business will be receiving a phone call at an unagreed upon time. The problem is that micro businesses don't have receptionists or staff to take bookings and online bookings. For example, a therapist that doesn't answer while seeing clients. They would miss the all-important phone call, and they may or may not get another one. Well, what do you think, Colin?
I'm not sure about the unagreed time. I'm not familiar with that. In my experience setting up these, so is this a video verification? Oh no.
Yeah, it's going back to what we were talking about with double verification, but I think what Jamal was talking about is the video verification, which is a separate process completely.
Mm-hmm. My experience with video verification is that you do sort of coordinate a specific time, but it sounds like maybe Jamil's talking about a phone call that's going to be coming in for that second part of the verification. Possibly.
Yeah, Jamil. So, I mean, basically the answer is if you're talking about video verification, which is when you don't receive a postcard, right? Then they always set up a time. As far as the video verification as part of this possible double verification process, that's actually something that you initiate and you record the video offline and then it uploads. So I don't think anybody would be missing that, basically, I guess. Yeah, cool. Awesome. Glad we could answer the question.
Yeah, and Ben, would you say, I mean, typically I find when people get to the end of their rope as far as getting verified, they've exhausted it, they can't coordinate, whatever it may be, the forum is a decent place to go to.
No.
Where else would you?
I mean, basically, if you're at the end of your rope and you have not been able to get a video verification done, you have to basically go through support and try to do it again.
So reach out to regular support.
Yeah, because there's nothing we can do in the community, right? The only thing that we could do in the community is if you go through the trying to request postcards and it says you have no more verification options, and then you reach out to support and then support gives you the middle finger, then you can come to the community.
So I should have said that the middle person there is regular GMB support, and that's almost with any issue before you hop to the forum.
Oh yeah.
A suspension issue, right? You fill out a reinstatement form, something happens, you contact regular Google support, you can appeal it, then you go to the forum. So there's a bit of a path there.
That's a fantastic point, man. And so true. All right, so let's see. Jerry asks a quick question. Is it Woo, W-U, or Woo as in W-O-O? It's W-O-O. All right, and let's see. All right. Christy has a question. Follow-up question from last time. Plastic surgeon's client listing was restricted because their before and after image violated Google's guidelines. Honest mistake, technically from the prior agency, images were removed immediately, and after we realized there was a problem. We reached out to Google and they said they are permanently restricted from adding images and posts because of the violation. Have you heard of? Yeah. So I would say that if they said that, if you have reached out to support, then just like what Colin was just saying, then come to the community and ask, basically, and we'll see. No guarantees, but we can escalate it for you. And but there's no guarantees, unfortunately. Here's a good one for you. Is it helpful for an SEO to complete the free mini website allowed by Google if a company already has a freestanding website?
Well, there might be some use cases. The only one that I can think of, and this is something I learned from Ben, which was pretty cool, that if you're having issues pushing your cover photo to your knowledge panel, so the proper cover photo, then you spoke about a workaround that's related to the website.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So that has nothing to do with anything other than a very specific sort of thing you could utilize the website for. But in general, I can't see the question there anymore, but like there isn't a use that I've experienced when you already have a wonderful website. Is it a citation? I guess so, sure. But
yeah, what I like to say is it's an auto updating citation. It takes less than 5 minutes to actually implement. And I have seen customers that if you toss 1 or 2 links at the free website, it could rank for their business name. So if somebody is doing a branded search, they have a possibility of running into it, which is great because it has all the reviews, the hours, appointment link, you name it, right? Photos, posts. And I have seen customers actually pull sales from that. So for that bit alone, even if it's only a 10% chance, it's worth it, I think. So, okay. I'll just answer this one real quick. No feedback is my progress. Yeah, they unfortunately, Max, they don't give feedback on progress. If you want to help people, I would say help people not because of status. Help people just because you want to help. So that's what I would say. You have any thoughts on that one, real quick, Colin, before we come out?
That was Max there. Hundreds of hours. No feedback. Sorry, probably that were love when it broke my spirit. Oh, that sucks. Sorry, Max. No, I guess, I mean, I've seen that. I don't know. There's definitely lots of very active people at the forum. I don't know. Sometimes you really just have to find that fine line between quality versus quantity versus networking with other product experts. That would be a big thing to consider if you haven't done that yet. Just try and connect with one of the product experts. I would say all the product experts, I would think, are pretty willing and wanting to help people and support people who want to become a product expert and really contribute and do good stuff there. So add that into the mix for sure.
Yeah, I agree completely. Network, DM. I mean, myself, Colin, all of us are on Twitter, so feel free to send a DM. But realistically, at the end of the day, what we watch out for as product experts and what the community managers watch out for is anybody who's trying to become a product expert for business purposes. And so I would take a look maybe at your posts and see if there was anything there, maybe that could be possibly, but at the same time, again, it's all about, helping people. So it's not about the number of posts. You could be doing it for 15 minutes a day and still get to a silver level. You just need to really question, why do you want to become silver, gold, platinum, etc.? And if you can answer that question, and that question is not because it will bring me business, then you'll be successful. I don't know if that's your case, Max. I'm just saying in general, I mentor a lot of people and I see that a lot. So, okay, cool.
Ben, I noticed just quick there, Lisa was asking, please review how to get to the forum you keep referencing. And I know we talked about that a ton. It basically, if we'll put a link in there, but if you just type in Google Business Profile Forum, you'll get to the forum. You'll see it should be the first ranking thing.
Should be. Just go to support.google.com/business. And then there's a link at the top right to community. Click on that and you are in the forum, and go to the bottom if you want to ask a question. All right, cool. With that, thanks so much, Colin. Really appreciate it, brother. And,
thank you.
And thank you everybody for coming. We really appreciate you. And everybody have a wonderful weekend, and we will see you in 2 weeks, where we are going to have Claire Carlisle, the queen of UTMs.
Nice.
Coming on. And so join us then. Until then, everybody have a fantastic week.
Awesome. Thanks, everybody. Bye.
Bye.